Good morning. My name is Christine Owner. I am the Marketing Manager at Orion Governance. Thank you so much for joining for our webinar today. We will be hosting a series of webinars this year. Today we will cover accelerating migrations with metadata automation and analytics. You will be muted during the presentation. We will have a Q&A section, so please submit your question during the webinar and we will address it at the end. Please reach out to us after the webinar for inquiries, questions, and feedback on the webinar. Our contact information will be shared at the end of the presentation. Now, I would like to introduce Rolf Russell, Global Sales Director of Orion Governance, and Temo Matamaki, Senior Customer Success Director of Orion Governance, who will be presenting this webinar.
Thank you, Christine. So as Christine said, my name is Rolf Russell. I'm the Global Sales Director for Orion Governance. I will take you through an initial presentation with a couple of slides where we talk about the customer situation and the customers that we meet in the world. And then I will hand over to Temo Matamaki who will go into the details of how we can accelerate migrations with the metadata automation and analytics. So when we meet with customers all over the world and in different industries, many of them talks about having a very ambitious plans to become data-driven, to be able to adapt to changes and enable people to take better decisions faster. These initiatives could relate to self-service analytics, digitalization, or artificial intelligence projects to drive innovation. Very often, there is a large gap between the maturity of data management in the organization and those objectives. Many times, the data assets are fragmented into silos with low understanding of the current information landscape and how the data transforms and what it actually means to the business. This results in that they struggle to see return on investments on self-service analytics due to the lack of trusted data and inability to take decisions in the organization. The current environment have a very high total cost of ownership, and it's built over many, many years and have for many different purposes. Silos are also evolving over time and drives increased cost of running them because of the examples of tactical implementations. And that also adds to the complexity over time. The organizations, they also have problems making changes to adapt to new requirements in the market, and this could actually stop or slow down the innovation in the organization. Gartner actually says that this is the lack of understanding and ability to find the most valuable trusted data. That's actually one of the biggest obstacles in driving these projects. Many of our customers have realized that they need to resolve data silos and try to get full understanding of the information landscape to overcome these challenges. The main driver could be that they need to comply with regulatory requirements or drive modernization or optimization efforts to minimize risk or to reduce cost in their environment. When they try, they seldom realize the scale of the problem that they have at hand. Documenting hundreds of systems and millions of columns manually, that's pretty much mission impossible. The other problem is that when they are done with the initial effort, the result could end up being obsolete as new changes has happened in the environment already. When you need to unlock the value from your data assets, you need to use automation and analytics to accelerate time to value. An efficient way of managing the data asset means that you could find, understand, trust, and manage assets at large scale in an automated way. This automated approach takes hours and days to do instead of months and years, and everything also needs to be updated near real time. If not, as said, it will potentially be obsolete when they make any new changes to the environment. So it needs to be redone again. With the volume of data assets and to be able to get full value, you also need to have analytics to activate the metadata for decisions and actions. Facts about the data assets is used to accelerate changes and drive decisions. With this understanding, you will also be able to get full accurate impact analysis of any potential change in your technical environment. We are able to ingest data assets and transformations into the environment with automation and machine learning. And that enables us to automate the cross-platform data lineage and data cataloging to connect this to the actual business terms. Then we apply analytics to the metadata to provide information intelligence for many different use cases. This could be fact-based governance, regulatory compliance, as mentioned, or just optimizing the architecture for migrations or self-service use cases. And in this case, we're going to talk about migration use case in detail. But before moving to the migration use case, I just want to introduce the Enterprise Information Intelligence Graph Platform, EIIG. On the left-hand side, you can see that we are today able to understand and ingest more than 50 different technologies like JCL, COBOL, Java, DB2, Oracle, ETL tools like Informatica and Microsoft SSIS. So we're using the automated ingestion to actually pull that information into the Enterprise Information Intelligence Graph. And we're only looking at metadata. We actually just released support for Snowflake, Azure, and AWS components on top of the current platforms. As mentioned, we're leveraging automation and machine learning to build relationship between the data objects and how data transforms. This enables us to provide cross-platform data lineage, cataloging the data assets, and map the business terms to the correct data assets to drive informed decision-making. When doing this, we're only using metadata and code to create this understanding. We're not touching the actual data in the environment. This gives extremely rapid execution and also helps from the security perspective. Our projects usually takes between 4 and 8 weeks to show value. When we have this platform, you need to be able to collaborate on the actual terms and the metadata that we have at hand in the platform. You need to be able to connect to tools like Slack or MS Teams and also provide comments and ranking for validation and creating trust in the data. The Enterprise Information Intelligence Graph also offers the ability to have formal workflow for creating ownership and authorization of the changes of terms and assets in the platform. So you can actually connect to both the built-in BPM platform or the BPM tool that you have in your environment. We're also adding data quality to be able to ingest quality metrics and overlay that to the information landscape picture that you have in the platform. This is all to build the informed decision making and support the quality perspective of the information landscape. On top of this, we have many different ways of building analytics tool platforms and analyzing the metadata in the platform. The Enterprise Information Intelligence Graph that's built to fit within the current ecosystem and landscape within a customer with open APIs, so that we are able to integrate and accelerate time to value in your environment today. So EIIG is built to enable information intelligence and drive informed decision making. Now over to Teemu for the more detailed walkthrough of the migration use case. Thank you.
Hello, I'm a sailor, and I often think of migration as a journey from current state to target state. And you need to plan how you navigate. First of all, you have to know where you are. What are you actually migrating, and what's the best optional route? And as you start moving forward towards the target state, you still want to stay in the course, avoid hitting the rocks. You really want to know the sort of the blue dot in your navigation map. And we are there to help. So EIIG can provide you an accurate and auditable architecture blueprint, which we are maintaining through the migrations with metadata automation. So metadata automation can reduce migration risk, cost, and time to value. We are centralizing knowledge from your people and data and ecosystems. So basically, we are capturing a lot of the intellectual property that has been accumulated into your IT ecosystem over years and decades. So when people have been doing designs and mappings, which eventually have actually become actual flows, and so many of these people may have already retired, and especially in the very old environments, they have a high risk of having resource bottlenecks that you just don't find those experts anymore. So when you have this kind of blueprint, you can use it to quick adaptation for changes, because you can do automated and accurate impact analysis, because you actually have the relationships and you have it cross-platform relationships. Whatever changes you do, you can also manage the changes centrally. And as you do this discovery, you're not only doing it for planning the changes, you can actually leverage the discovered metadata to reuse it for building, accelerating your actual delivery activity, and you can then use it to control that you stay aligned with the architecture design patterns. As you have more reliability in the changes, you can actually start creating incremental value delivery, meaning that you can do much smaller and reliable frequent changes. So in summary, automation can help you lower the subject matter expert dependency. It can be far shorter project, and the results are accurate, auditable, repeatable, and scalable. I've personally done several migration plans, and what you start with, you basically need to have a solid plan and understanding of the data assets and the solutions to be migrated. What you normally do is you interview a bunch of experts. You have certain templates that you use for gathering information of the landscape. You gather all the different architecture documents, etc. But that often is quite challenging, because those experts might be hard to find, and documentation tends to be old. At one customer, I found the situation was that actually they said that they don't have anyone who could tell me anything about the environment. So actually that was times before this metadata automation, and I was stuck. I couldn't do it, but now automation could help to actually overcome this kind of problem. So as you progress with manual approach, it tends to be slow, because you're dependent on these busy people. You do hard manual work to gather information. Still, it leaves a lot of unknowns, and you actually have to do easily shortcuts which are lacking audit trails. So you have to remain on a certain level. Like Rolf said, you easily have hundreds of thousands of columns. Depends, of course, on the scope of the migration. And then as a result, you have a high risk that your plan is inaccurate and outdated when finished. And as you start actually doing the migration, you may actually end up on a wrong route, and you may find some surprises, some rocks, and it's easy that you blow your budget and time schedule. So giving you an example of what it could take to do automated impact analysis versus how the things happen when you do manually. At one customer, they said that they're spending about 600 hours per any change that they need to do, and it was such a long lengthy period that obviously the change backlog became quite long, because new changes were waiting until the study was done, and they broke it to initial detail. Despite that, they were pretty uncertain of the changes. So something that really looked small, clearly small, they were able to allocate it to sort of minor releases, whereas anything that looked distantly a little bit bigger impact, they had to schedule those for major releases, because major releases had the full-blown testing cycles in them to secure that these unknowns are still high quality after the release. But that also meant many months for delay. So as we introduced a integrated metadata solution there, they were able to cut down the change impact analysis from 600 hours to pretty much 1 minute. And obviously that has an impact to reduce backlog, reducing the backlog. But there's also really good benefits for the actual development flow of making changes or migrating solutions. It's that we were there's less surprises, enabling to do small and reliable frequent changes. So much more of the changes could be allocated to these minor releases, and then also major release had less delays, and the customers were estimating that the savings was about 75%, and these changes that we did were only related to this change impact analysis. We really didn't do much changes to the actual engineering process that was applied. So EIIT provides an accurate auditable architecture blueprint. So it's time to show a bitmap of how it actually looks. And this is an example where we have ingested 5 different systems from the left to right. There's the DP2, and then we have the mainframe system. There's an ETL SSIS system that is loading an Oracle database, and then finally Tableau reporting. And so we can expand and collapse, and we can kind of show at the same time kind of higher architecture view, as well as we can show how it looks in the details. And here purposefully I have collapsed the mainframe, as it is a complex part of the flow, and to be able to show it on one slide. But we can also drill down from there to details like the actual code, and that gives us ability to identify change impacts and finding the hardest code blocks to migrate. We can also manage changes in the data pipeline, and this in turn helps to manage the changes accurately, reducing migration risk, cost, and time to value. Another aspect of migration is looking at what data delivers the value and what would be the kind of the scope of the migration. And actually, this has a relationship to Gartner study that I saw recently. Gartner had studied what are the key challenges in data management practice across a wide range of companies, and they were indicating that finding these most valuable data assets as well as scoping the activity is a big pain, and so we are working on metadata analytics in EIIT, and our aim is to support scoping and finding those most valuable assets. So you're looking at the overlapping data flows. You could find orphan and duplicate tables. You can look most and least valuable or trusted data assets. You can look at the data overlaps and different sourcing conflicts, and this in turn can help you to scope out redundant, unused data assets, data flows, and reports. And by reducing migration scope, you can actually reduce migration risk, cost, and time to value. So when you think of it, being able to reduce 30% of a major migration release, it's that alone is such a cost saving that could justify implementation of EIIT, and as a byproduct you would get actually regulatory compliance. So in summary, we have been talking talking about unlocking value from your data assets, centralizing information for distributed people, data ecosystems, sort of enabling people to collaborate and around central knowledge, and that in turn can provide delivery with dramatically improved quality, cost, and speed. So, call to action. So, if you are interested in more of what we have been talking, take contact to us. The next step could be a more detailed demo of what EIIT could provide to you and the technologies you have at hand. Then that could lead to a POC. We do POCs within 2 weeks, so we would basically prove to you that we can indeed deal with your technologies. And so with that, I'm open for questions. Here are our contact details if you want to ask more offline.
Yeah, I got a question. Our experience is that this kind of projects need a long time to implement. How long do you need to implement on average?
Rolf, do you want to take this one, or?
Yes, I can answer that. I think I mentioned it in the beginning. I mean, we usually scope our projects to be between 4 and 8 weeks to deliver the first initial use case, depending on the number of source systems that we need to look at, of course, for that specific use case. But we try to drive value quickly and then do iterations to show additional value over time.
Okay, that sounds quick. We should talk. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you to all participants. If there's no more questions, stay tuned and talk to you later. Bye-bye.